Greetings, viewers of Channel 24. My name is Vladyslav Novikov. I'm Sergei Aslanyan. Sergei, hello, good to see you. Let's talk about BRICS, and more specifically, how Trump reacted to the statements made at the summit in Brazil. Already on the first day there was veiled criticism of him. In response, Trump said that if such rhetoric continues, he will impose 10% duties on countries that support anti-American policies. The question arises, why is Trump reacting to BRICS at all, if neither Putin nor Xi Jinping, as well as 6 other leaders of other countries, came to the summit? Technically, the summit took place, but in essence, it was of little significance. I suggest we start the discussion with this.
Лидеров разных стран тоже туда не поехали. В общем, этот саммит, по сути, даже фактически, может быть, и состоялся, а по сути своей не состоялся.
BRICS has finally attracted attention. Since its inception, this association has had a serious problem: lack of real substance. BRICS is more of an illusion of significance, an attempt by Russia to demonstrate that it is not alone. Look, China and Brazil are with us. And if you look around, there are other countries too. However, the stated goal of BRICS as a political and economic union is not realized in practice. Participation in it does not bring tangible benefits. Economic cooperation between countries, for example, between Russia and China, takes place directly, not through BRICS. Having formal membership status does not change anything, neither in terms of savings nor in terms of benefits. India, South Africa, and other countries are also members, but their participation does not give it any real weight. BRICS remains a structure without concrete content or practical benefits. South Africa has joined the BRICS. What has this changed? Formally, the bloc has strengthened politically, and now you can say, I represent BRICS, we have South Africa. But in practice, this does not provoke a serious reaction. There is neither a military alliance between Russia and South Africa that would influence the global balance of power, nor a tangible economic effect. African countries, despite their participation in the Union, have not gained any real advantages. The alliance with Russia has not transformed them into an economic or political force. The question arises, what is BRICS and what is its impact? There are no tangible benefits from being a member. Many countries do not aspire to join, and absence from the bloc is not perceived as a tragedy. BRICS remains a symbolic association without real substance. BRICS is just a failed construct, resembling a broken toy that didn't work from the start. Russia, as always, does not recognize mistakes. It does not retreat, but simply moves backwards. A supposedly powerful economic bloc was created: Russia and South Africa, Russia, India, China. On paper, it looks impressive: more than 2.5 billion people, a huge aggregate market. But what does it give in practice? If you're just hitched to an elephant somewhere in the back and hanging around, nothing changes. For the first time, someone seriously asked the question, is BRICS even necessary? The idea lost relevance. The bloc fell by the wayside. Participation in it became not only useless but also potentially dangerous. Under international law, a visit to the summit may result not in a meeting with partners, but, for example, in arrest and transportation to The Hague.
Смахнуть с игрового стола. И БРИКС куда-то под откос туда улетел. И на этот БРИКС уже и появляться-то страшно. Ну, потому что там, помимо того, что ты бряцаешь этим БРИКСом, есть еще какие-то законы, потому что международные. Прилетишь, например, в эту Бразилию в голубом вертолете, а тебе вместо того, чтобы бесплатно показали кино, бац, в Гаагу отправили.
Everyone was embarrassed, and many wondered what BRICS was all about. Why would you give up your business, fly to Brazil, waste your time for the sake of it? When you arrive, it is empty. There is nothing to discuss, nothing to do, and almost no leaders. We spent time at the table, looked at the beach, thought about entertainment or a festival. Then someone comes to the podium and says the usual phrases. America is not an ideal, and
America
we are a
is
powerful
not an
economic
ideal
bloc,
and we are a powerful
but there is nothing
economic
behind
bloc.
these words.
But there is nothing
BRICS
behind
has not
these
benefited
words.
any
BRICS
country
has not
since its
benefited
inception.
any country since
It's
its
just a name
inception.
on paper
It's
that
just
no
a
one
name
can
on
even
paper
present.
that no one can
And
even
now Trump
present.
has reacted
And
for
now
the first
Trump
time.
has reacted
He
for
has
the
said
first
that
time.
there will be
He has
consequences
said
for the
that there will
countries
be
that make up
consequences
BRICS.
for the countries that make up BRICS.
There's no one to charge. Suddenly Trump said, those in BRICS will get what they deserve, in the form of 10% duties. China, are you in BRICS? China originally joined this association without much desire, at a time when Russia still retained its international reputation, and even the United States cooperated with it. Then the idea of creating BRICS came up, and China was invited to join. It agreed, expecting neither benefits nor losses. It simply gave its name and formally became a member. As a result, China had neither profit nor loss. It neither earned nor lost a single yuan. BRICS had no impact on its economy. And now the situation has changed. It seems like it's time to withdraw, but we can't do it. Otherwise, it will turn out that China has submitted to US pressure. If America says stop and China leaves, it looks like an admission of weakness. So China stays, even though it makes no sense. And for that, it gets 10% duties. Everything is complicated by the fact that Trump's behavior is unpredictable. On Monday, he is one thing. On Sunday, quite different. Sunday Trump is usually calm, but on Monday when his doctor goes to work, checking appointments and tests, everything changes. With that, the rhetoric changes, and America itself changes. Monday's Trump is formidable, decisive, so China's task is to make it to next Sunday, when everything could change again and it will turn out that there are no 10% duties. But today the BRICS can consider it a victory. It has been talked about. Trump has recognized its existence. Like the old question, is there life on Mars? Now there is, because Trump has said so. And as if in response, the Martians moved their hermetic helmet and rejoiced. The consequences? India suddenly gets a 10% penalty in its trade balance with the US, the first real economic consequence of being in BRICS in years. The same goes for China and South Africa. But South Africa now has a different agenda. There, according to Trump, Elon Musk may be deported. And the question arises, if you get such happiness back, maybe you should make him president. Maybe South Africa will actually go into space. That would be more interesting than getting fined for participating in BRICS. At least that could be taken seriously. But when we try to analyze something related to BRICS, Putin can rub his hands together. Although most likely he has already forgotten about this association. Over the years he has had many political toys rolled under his couch. BRICS represents neither strength, structure, nor influence. But now people are talking about it, both us and America. So it has worked at least as an irritant. Putin is not a creator, he acts differently. He creates a hindrance somewhere, throws a problem somewhere, sets a trap somewhere. And now one of those traps has worked. BRICS sounds like a powerful alliance of billions of people, but in fact it is an empty shell. Nevertheless, even Trump has reacted. Now he can start putting pressure on China, at least during the work week. Then he'll forget, then he'll take his vitamins, then the doctor will go back to work, and everything will change. And so passes a troubling week in which the BRICS for the first time begin to mean something. What about multipolarity? Has that idea already been forgotten, no longer relevant or achievable? All that's left is to figure out how many poles there really are and where they point. Every time someone raises the topic of multipolarity, one is reminded of Soviet times. Brezhnev often spoke about it. Andropov also had his own ideas, and Chernenko tried to speak out, but because of his illness he did not have time. Now Putin is talking about multipolarity, proposing to replace the old compass with a new one. France also likes to talk about this topic as it considers itself a significant player. The UK has also spoken out in the past, reminding us of its influence. Even Ivory Coast has opinions on multipolarity, but the compass shows the same thing. There are as many poles as there are, and they are not changing. You can argue with the compass as Putin does, trying to look like an influential politician. He is not talking about Russia. There, according to his version, everything is fine. People are happy, buying cars, signing contracts, going to war. Social issues are solved. But in the world, in his opinion, there are not enough poles. That is why he struggles with the compass, considering it his task.
Сытые, счастливые люди охотно покупают себе белую ладу, охотно подписывают контракт, идут на войну убивать украинцев, отличная работа, отличная социалка, решенные вопросы. А в мире вот полюсов не хватает. Надо бы разобраться с компасом. И, Богу Богова, и Путину, конечно же, с компасом бороться.
Lavrov said today that Ukraine should enshrine denazification and demilitarization in a peace agreement. According to him, Kiev should give up legal claims against Russia, lift sanctions, and return Russian assets. The question arises, what is new in this? Is it a compromise, the result of a long negotiation? In the 100 days of Trump's presidency, and then in another month and a half or 2 months, there have been 2 rounds of discussions, but the third has not started. Russia, meanwhile, emphasizes that it has not backed down from its demands, effectively equal to Ukraine's surrender. That may have been presented differently with Trump, as a willingness to make peace. But the second part, that peace is possible only on Russian terms, was not emphasized in the dialogue with him. It seems to have seemed acceptable to Trump. One side wants peace, the other side also wants peace, so it is possible to reach an agreement. But agreements are not coming, because there is no common ground. There have been 8 major humanitarian exchanges in the past month, including prisoner exchanges, but Trump has not been satisfied. Why was Trump left unhappy if negotiations are going on, humanitarian exchanges are taking place? Perhaps something was missed or happened out of the public eye. When Lavrov dictates what Ukraine should do, he demonstrates Russia's position, the position of a mentor who tells who should do what. This is reminiscent of a school situation where the teacher knows exactly who should learn the verse, who should bring the parents. Russia acts as an elder who demands obedience from the younger. Ukraine, sort out the paperwork and file a petition. As for Trump, his reaction may be due to the peculiarities of his condition. He appears to have a certain biological rhythm that depends on medication. Sometimes the effects of the medication are short-term, in which case Sunday's Trump is different from Monday's, and sometimes it's prolonged, and then the emotional curve changes slowly. Today the whole world is watching to see which leg he got up on, how his mood is, whether his stomach hurts. Trump's reactions are becoming an important factor in global politics. We can see that Trump has long emotional cycles, as exemplified by his relationship with Elon Musk. It used to be almost idyllic: admiration, support, buying a red Tesla, urging Americans to support the company. Now he's an outcast, mentally unstable, and about to be deported back to South Africa. The situation with Putin is similar, a long-formed attitude based on the perception of him as a peace-loving leader. They say he was attacked and he didn't even respond. He is for peace. He is restrained. True, at the same time he bombed Kiev, attacked Odessa, killed Ukrainians. But on the whole, according to this logic, he is still a good guy. And suddenly the rhetoric changes. Trump expresses discontent. It's already a different figure, like a new teacher in the classroom who has decided that Vovochka is behaving badly. And now the warning sounds. Vovochka, think about your behavior. The end of the quarter is coming. What will your grades be?
последнее время, наверное, родители в школу позовут. Так, Вовочка, ты мне не нравишься. Задумайся о своем поведении, а скоро все-таки четверть закончится. У тебя какие четвертные-то будут?
Please familiarize yourself and get ready.
Vovochka.
And Trump
And
is
yet
getting
the
closer
situation
and
remains
closer,
unchanged.
then pulling away.
You are now
and the
an
behavior,
official representative of Russia,
a politician,
and a
and with all
diplomat.
this, the situation
Wow,
remains
he says,
unchanged.
this is something
you are
I
now
haven't
a
played
Russian
yet.
official,
Went
a
to Minsk
politician,
and
sat
a
down at the
diplomat.
negotiating
Wow,
table with
he
Ukraine
says,
with a serious
this is
look.
something I haven't
The
played
Minsk
yet.
agreements
Went to
still
Minsk,
someone
sat
refers
down at
to
the
them.
negotiating
Here
table
it is,
with
the
Ukraine
Minsk
with a
agreements.
serious look.
There was such
The
a
Minsk
thing.
agreements,
Just like in
to this
Paris,
day,
where negotiations
someone still
on the
refers
Vietnam
to them.
War were held
Remembers,
from 1968
there was such a
to
thing.
1972.
Just like in Paris,
they
where
discussed ending
negotiations
the
on
conflict.
Vietnam were held
Reconciliation
from
between the
1968
North
to
and the South.
1972.
Did that
For
stop
4
the war?
years, they discussed
No.
how to end
But
the
the
war,
negotiations
how to reconcile
continued.
the North
There are
and the
several
South.
parallel
Did
processes
it stop
here
the
too.
war?
Russia
No.
initiates
But
the
the
meetings
negotiations
Putin
were
says,
going on.
There is a
There
proposal.
are several parallel
We need the
processes
next
here
round.
too.
And Lavrov
Russia
explains
explains
what
what
the
the
other
other
side
side
should prepare.
Putin says, there is a proposal. We need the next round. Lavrov specifies what Ukraine should prepare. A test, dictation, diagnostic work, homework, write it down, in the diary, because you will have to pass the test.
И поэтому здесь несколько разных процессов. Российская страна назначает переговоры. И Путин говорит, значит, есть предложение, нужен следующий раунд. И Лавров рассказывает, что должно быть подготовлено. Значит, домашнее задание Украины, запиши. Ты в дневничок запиши, потому что тебе же зачет сдавать. Значит так, к следующему раунду ты нам должна вот такой контрольный, вот такой диктант, и вот тут еще небольшой дидактический материальчик. Пожалуйста, ознакомься и приготовься. И Трамп, который то прильнет, то
He asks, What's that? It's Ukraine. Can I drink? Try it. Tasted it. Didn't like it. Put it aside. I want something tastier. Now the whole world is preparing to flee, just as physicists and mathematicians left the Third Reich and were welcomed by America. Now Germany, France, Canada, Japan are setting up programs to take in American scientists fleeing Trump because everything in the US is being destroyed. This seems more interesting, intense. If it's a drink, it's a strong drink. And here again they offer mineralka, called Ukraine, almost without a degree. He is tired. How much can I drink? It doesn't run out. It comes straight from the tap. I want something else. I want entertainment. Meanwhile, there are hints of dirt related to beauty pageants and Harvey Weinstein, which Elon Musk allegedly has on Trump. Musk was quickly silenced, not wanting to lose his New York residency and return to South Africa. The topic did not develop, and Trump has Ukraine again. Again, irritation. And Putin? Seems like a nice guy. Not so much after his morning pills, though. He was better on Friday.
Не хочу терять нью-йоркскую прописку, не хочу обратно к себе на ЮАРовщину. И про компромат дальше развития не пошло. И у Трампа у него опять Украина. Да что ж такое-то? А Путин-то хороший мужик. Да нет, пожалуй, не хороший. После утренних таблеток точно не хороший. В пятницу лучше был.
On Saturday, Putin still looked tolerable, but already on Sunday and especially on Monday, definitely not bad. These are 3 different processes, and none of them stops the war. Putin wanted to go to war. He's at war. He can stall all he wants. The Minsk Accords, New York, Riyadh, Istanbul, delegations, representatives. Homework for Ukraine. Don't forget, you owe me. But none of this is bringing peace any closer. If Trump really wanted to stop the war, he would have done it. He himself has said he has personally ended 4 wars in the last 3 months. He was applauded in The Hague, and Rutte, who suddenly turned out to be his illegitimate son, confirmed, yes, that's what happened. But the 5th war, which is actually the first, is not ending. If you are a peacemaker and have already stopped 4 conflicts, why does this one continue? Maybe because it is real, or because it requires real action. 4 cases have shown that you have experience. You have a talent as a military leader and a politician. A war, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's it. But when you look at the list of these wars, you are surprised. Some of them have never been heard of.
полководца, а заодно политика. Потому что война стоит раз-два, и так 4 раза подряд. 4 войны остановилась. Когда смотришь список этих 4 войн, изумляешься, потому что про некоторые из них не слышал.
But Trump won them anyway, and this war is a profitable one. It is not their own, not native, as well as Ukraine. So if Putin is offered to be a peacemaker, he will accept. If they say, you are an outcast, he will accept it too. It's not the first time. America says, we are for peace. Good, then peace. Trump is satisfied with one thing, dissatisfied with another. Send someone, buy something, sell something. Everything has to be a deal. Disperse scientists, kick out physicists, stop science, shut down an institute. That's domestic politics. Can you stop a war? We can. Let Ukraine win. There's no other way. You can remove Putin. Will that stop the war? Yes, guaranteed. Can we do it? It can be done. But no one will. Taking American business out of Russia could be done. But that won't happen either, because it's profitable. American businesses stayed when others left and now pay taxes to the Russian budget. Last year, American companies paid about $1.2 billion in taxes.
Потому что очень многие другие ушли, американцы остались. И американский бизнес платит налоги Путину. Сейчас скажу, кстати, сколько налогов заплатил американский бизнес за последний год. Так, американские компании за год заплатили налогов всего-навсего на $1,200 миллионов налогов.
$1 billion to Putin. And Trump says, Putin has gotten worse and so has Elon Musk. The war must end. War is bad. But at the same time, America is actually funding the Russian budget because taxes from American businesses go directly to the treasury. In Russia, the tax system is organized simply. All revenues are collected into a general fund and allocated to priority needs. Thus, the contribution of American business to the war, official, legal, is $1.2 billion. That's the money used to build tanks. For example, the American oilfield services company SLB refused to leave Russia, despite the sanctions. The management said that they had studied the restrictions and believed that their activities were compliant. It is simply profitable for them to stay. Also, all 5 plants of the American corporation Federal Mogul, which produces cylinder piston groups for KAMAZ, continue to operate in Russia. It is thanks to these products that KAMAZ are being used in the war against Ukraine.
А нам выгодно в России. Так же, как в России работают все 5 американских заводов корпорации Federal Mogul, которые делает для КАМАЗов цилиндропоршневую группу, и, собственно, благодаря именно Federal Mogul КАМАЗы едут убивать украинцев.
This is an American company. They continue to work, pay taxes, and KAMAZ is fighting thanks to this support. Not to mention the supply of microchips and other components. The war could be stopped, Ukraine could be given the opportunity to win. But instead, Trump is happy today, tomorrow not. Today, Putin is satisfied, tomorrow he is like Musk, irritating. Negotiations are going on, and this is presented as progress. Putin schedules a new round to be held soon. But that doesn't bring peace any closer. Neither did the Paris talks, which lasted from 1968 to early 1973 and did not stop the Vietnam War. In 1968, they started discussing peace, but fighting continued all year. In 1969, same thing. In 1970 and 1971, talks went on and people continued to be killed. It became a familiar pattern. Putin says he's for peace. So does Trump. And Ukraine, in this logic, should disappear.
Это привычная для мира ситуация. Путин за мир, Трамп за мир, Украина должна погибнуть.
Nevertheless, one thing I've latched onto in your explanation is the tension between Trump and Elon Musk, which could be replicated between Trump and Putin. There's definitely hope in that, especially given what you said. Plus, there's been word. Trump's favorite newspaper, the New York Post, has called on him to urgently restore military aid. That publication, which had previously supported him, published a sharp appeal. And this is not an isolated case. Such calls are heard more and more often. we can say that ordinary Americans, including journalists, are beginning to see the situation clearly. Everything is obvious. Trump is dialoguing with Putin, while at the same time Russia is launching drones at Ukraine, including on US Independence Day.
Это не единственное издание, которое вот подхватило такую волну такого отношения. Можно сказать, что простые американцы, в том числе и журналисты, уже все понимают, все понятно. Трамп говорит с Путиным, в это время Путин выпускает кучу шахедов на День независимости Соединенных Штатов, выпускает кучу шахедов по Украине.
That looks like a spit in the face, and not the first. Perhaps Trump usually tries to dodge such outbursts, but this time it didn't work. Or he's just tired. It's hard to understand exactly, but it is clear that social tension around this topic is building. The credit of trust that was given to him, including from the loyal media, is gradually being exhausted. The question arises, is this really capable of influencing Trump? Or will he say again what he always says, that if he had been president, there would have been no war, but Biden ruined everything?
Что и всегда, что если бы он был президентом, война бы не началась, да и вообще этот Байден всю ночь мне снился, задолбал.
The only person who can influence Trump is his wife. She is stable, has stayed with him longer than any previous ones, which speaks to her exceptional ability to adapt. Everyone else left and she stayed. That means a lot. Everything else in his life is subject to change. Today's international politics is more and more like an almshouse, where the patient is watched through a keyhole, what his mood is, whether he can enter the room today. There was no such thing in the past. In top-level politics, no one allowed himself open emotions, assessments, personal sympathies. No one knows what Charles III's character is, who he supports. No one guesses who Macron favors, or what Starmer's personal views are. This is considered unacceptable. They certainly have their opinions, but they never demonstrate them publicly. Unlike Trump, he acts impulsively. Today he admires, tomorrow he rejects. He changes assessments and attitudes in front of the whole world.
У них есть свое отношение, конечно, но они никогда не позволят вдруг этому отношению быть показанным миру. В отличие от Трампа. Трамп, он бьется в истерике. Сегодня люблю, завтра не люблю. Этот хороший, этот плохой.
The only person who is always in the right status, at the right time, and has her finger on the pulse is his wife Melania. Only she is able to influence Trump and thus world politics. Everyone else is failing. They are feverish with him. We are only watching the fluctuations, from sharp minute bursts to prolonged emotional cycles. For example, sudden declarations like 500% duties from tomorrow, or Israel must immediately turn the planes around because I decided so. All this is accompanied by spontaneous decisions that can change at any second. There are also longer fluctuations, as in the case of Elon Musk, then admiration, then irritation, now complete silence. With Putin, it is the same dynamic. All this chaos is called America. Once again, we are back to discussing the same thing. What does it mean and where does it end? Nothing. Ukraine can win if it gets help. Without help, it will drag on, because it will have to go it alone. What's changed? Delegations have come, even Medvedchuk has been pulled out, cleaned up, presented as a negotiator. But the war continues. Ukrainians continue to be killed. The Minsk agreements, endless rounds of negotiations, all without result. The whole world has only one hope, in Ukraine, because only it can put an end to this situation, which is already affecting even those who were previously far from the conflict. Africa, South America, regions that are not usually involved in European events are now also feeling the effects. All of this is beginning to affect everyone, and Ukraine holds the key to the solution. That's what would be worth talking about, discussing, making decisions, helping. But Trump's pills don't seem to match reality. As for Europe, we may have seen something new. A month has already passed from the second round to the anticipated third round. During this time, not only have there been successful humanitarian exchanges, but high-level contacts have intensified. Macron has been in and out of the news. He communicated with Putin, with Trump, with Zelensky. Peskov commented on the conversation with Macron, describing it in a characteristic manner, as if Putin had graciously picked up the phone and allowed Macron to say his name. All this was accompanied by the usual propaganda, but the mention of Macron here is not accidental, especially in the context of Europe, because Germany has also started to become active.
Низкосортная пропаганда. Так или иначе, не просто я тут Макрона вспомнил, особенно в контексте Европы, потому что и Германия тоже активизировалась.
Merz says that Russia is waging a hybrid war against Germany, and that this is no longer just pressure, but a real war, where all traces lead to Moscow. In words, they sound resolute, ready to tear their shirts off even now, but in reality, no Taurus air defense systems. France is buying Russian LNG in record volumes. Europe seems to show determination. Rutte constantly repeats that Ukraine is the basis of NATO security, that its importance cannot be overestimated. But when it comes to weapons, they give out a couple of spoons and ask you not to overeat, because you will have to wait for the next portion. In the end, the situation remains the same. Even Trump, who has seemingly wreaked havoc, hasn't changed the big picture. There is noise in the tabloids, headlines in the news, and in reality, everything is the same.
Вы запомните, что это еще до следующих ложечек время пройдет, поэтому экономьте. И все. И ситуация вроде не меняется. И даже уже тот же Трамп, который, казалось бы, напугал Европу до одного известного всем процесса, как-то особо, картина, не сказать, что поменялась. Вроде знаете, таблоиды пишут, вроде так информационно все поменялось, но на деле...
Europe is heterogeneous with many differences, including geographical ones. The Baltic states cannot distance themselves from their dangerous neighbor. They remain on the border. Estonia will always be a borderland. You go out on the street, look out, and Russia is already on the horizon. And this will not change. You can't see it from France. There is foie gras, Saint-Tropez, vacations, the sea. Now they are discussing fires. It seems to be a more urgent problem. Ukraine evokes sympathy but remains a stranger. It's like starving children in Africa. They are not starving for the first year. It has been going on for decades. It has been known for 100 years that children in Africa suffer from hunger. Funds are created, aid is sent, international organizations work, private donations come in, but the situation remains the same.
Финансовое соучастие Европы и других континентов, в том числе Америки, в судьбе африканских голодных детей. Это их накормило? То есть на протяжении 100 лет в Африке голодают дети. На протяжении 100 лет все знают, что они голодают. На протяжении 100 лет создаются фонды, материальная помощь, Всемирная организация здравоохранения, частные пожертвования.
A huge amount of aid, including food, is delivered to Africa. There are indirect forms of involvement, educational programs, medical missions, infrastructure projects, and there is direct aid, food, brought in, distributed. Did they feed you? No. Has anything changed? No. If you take 1970, for example, children in Africa were hungry. In 1969, too. In 1970, 100 million tons of humanitarian aid arrived. Did anything change? No. And in 1980? No. 1990? No. 2025? It's the same. The world is working, sending food, medicine, building hospitals, opening universities. Doctors come, volunteers come, specialists come, and still no change. Not a single country has become truly sustainable, livable, except for Egypt in the north with its ancient civilization.
Медикаменты, туда приезжают врачи, туда приезжают умные, просветленные, там строятся университеты, открываются больницы. И что-нибудь изменило? Нет. Как-нибудь хоть одна страна в Африке стала пригодной для проживания? Ну, какая-нибудь. Ну, на севере там великая египетская цивилизация.
The Egyptians are the same ones who built the Great Pyramids. Today they go around asking, "We are great. Can you tell us how we did it?" Maybe someone from the British, Americans, French, or Germans will explain how it was, because they don't remember it themselves. And pyramids are necessary. There are a lot of saints who need to go to the next world, but they don't know how to build them. Not at all. It doesn't work. South Africa has a car industry. There is a space program. The country is a member of BRICS. But is it possible to live there? I've been to South Africa. God forbid I stay there. There are 62 countries in Africa, 1.5 billion people, and not a single country has become truly livable. At the same time, they are all copies of Europe. Some consider themselves heirs to France, some to Great Britain, some to Portugal or Belgium.
100% африканских стран– это калька с Европы. Кто-то копия Франции, как им кажется, кто-то копия Великобритании, кто-то копия Португалии, кто-то копия Бельгии.
What's the result? They all have parliaments, presidents, constitutional courts, universities, and what has come of it? None of the countries got anything. On their own, nothing. Only with the help of humanitarian programs and support from the former metropolises they once depended on. As soon as foreign aid stops, roads disappear, fuel runs out, life stops. Yet all 62 African countries are represented in the UN. All have ambassadors. Some come in traditional clothes, some in Thai, and excellent English. But this is of little use. There are processes that do not bring results but continue for decades, in fact, for centuries. And this is perceived as the norm. Ethnic tensions, conflicts, unstable relations persist in Africa. The borders are artificial, drawn without taking into account the real communities. That is why violence, massacres, even cannibalism occur regularly there. This is the reality that is called Africa, and Ukraine is becoming the same reality for Europe.
Все, кто живет в Африке, все государства границы получили поперек, а не по согласованию. И там регулярно поэтому кого-то режут, кого-то заживо сжигают, кого-то едят по-прежнему. Ну вот есть такая данность, называется Африка. Вот такой данностью для Европы становится Украина.
In 2014, something happened in Ukraine. I think they occupied a peninsula. Then two more regions, Donetsk and Luhansk. There, part of the population declared that they wanted to go to Russia, and together with the Balkans they went there. Someone did not let them, clashes started, someone was killed. This became part of reality. Back then, in 2014, it didn't particularly bother anyone. Putin was not considered an aggressor. They shook hands with him, bought oil and gas. What has changed since then? In historical terms, almost nothing. There's a flashpoint where the violence continues, just like in Africa. People are killed there too. There are resources there too. Oil, diamonds, and all this is willingly bought. Everyone is concerned. Everyone realizes. Children in Africa are starving. They need help. Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie are adopting, creating funds, sending aid. It has become the norm. If you are a famous actor, you donate money to fight cancer, to Africa, to hungry children. What did it change? Nothing but applause for helping Africa. Same with Ukraine, applause. A little bit of air defense systems were transferred, a couple of tanks were sent, F-16s arrived. Mark Rutte says that the next scenario is a Chinese attack on Taiwan, with a simultaneous Russian attack on Europe to divert attention. He has already voiced this. 2 years ago, Sergei Aslanyan said that Putin might attack Europe. At the time it seemed absurd. Why? With what? For what purpose? And now Rutte is repeating the same idea. The question is not whether he will attack, but when. This too has become part of reality. Russia is Europe's gendarme. It was written about in Soviet history books. It has always been so. Suvorov crossed the Alps. Alexander Dysov entered Paris with Cossacks in 1814. Soviet tanks stood in Austria until 1955. It was perceived as the norm. And now Ukraine has been written into this familiar European model, where war and fear have become permanent.
То, например, до Австрии Т-34 доедет и до 55-го года там будет стоять. Ну вот так принято. И вот в эту отвратительную привычку Европы в нынешней конфигурации ужаса и войны константой
Sergey, thank you. It was interesting to hear your review and opinion on what is happening. We are watched by 4,000 people. This shows that the topic is important and resonates. Friends, don't forget to like and comment. It helps spread the word. If you want as many people as possible to hear the truth, support us. Sergey, thank you. It was good to see and hear. Glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.